Okay, so what we are going to cover today is basically how to prepare for your interview. So today is all about prepare yourself to really understand what to prepare, what to expect when you are having your job interview lined up. And I'm going to also cover some different types of interview questions that you are very likely to be asked in your real interview experience. I'm going to also give some tips and tricks on how you can best wrap up your interview. Sometimes it's awkward, you know, when interview panel asking, okay, that's the end of today's interview. Have you got any questions? It's like, no, I have no questions. You're kind of unsure how to actually wrap up the interview as well as how to conclude really well. That's what we're going to cover today. So I'm going to give you 10 seconds. I want you to actually use the chat function to tell me who you are. What I want to know a little bit more about yourself. Can you just type your answer into chat in terms of what study year are you and what degree program you are currently studying? And if you are international student, I really encourage you to also introduce yourself in terms of your cultural background, because the beauty of working at Griffith University, we do really value the multiculturalism. So this is a really good chance for me to get to know you and for you guys to get to know each other in this online platform as well. So again, I just want to know what study year are you now? If you're first year, second year, third year, if you're undergraduate, postgraduate, HDR, any PhD research student, I'm curious too, and what you're studying right now, so I can get a sense of who you got here. Okay, I can see Win, second year master cybersecurity. Yeah, you are one of our information technology students. Welcome. Okay. And Toshi, third year, studying IT. Oh, we have a few IT students here. Do you guys know with each other? If not, say hello to each other. Okay. And Hoang is my first year Bachelor of Design. Hoang, and by the way, welcome to Griffith University, and I hope you enjoy your first orientation week experience here at Griffith University. Rebecca, third year, criminology and criminal justice, which is a very interesting and emerging area, and there's many potential in terms of your future career opportunities there. Yeah, we do have some MBA students as well, and thank you for letting us know about which country you're originally from too. It's good to know. Yeah, and you got the Australian citizenship here. Congratulations. Okay, now I can see my colleagues typing TED. Lovely. Okay. Thanks for those of you who are actually contributing to the chat. Now I have a really good understanding of who I got here. The reason I wanted to ask this question at the beginning, because I want to be able to make sure what I'm presenting today makes sense to you and relates to you in your individual circumstances. Awesome. Okay, so let's just move on. Imagine, I just want you to use your imagination a little bit. Imagine you got a phone call from your dream job company or organization. I mean, if that is what you're looking for, if you want to be employed by someone else here, and then you just apply for the dream job, you're just hoping that you get a phone call from the employer. You finally got a phone call, and there's somebody telling you, "Hi, am I speaking to Toshi? First of all, thank you so much for applying for our job. I'm calling you to invite you for our job interview for the position you apply for." If that is the case, those of you who actually have had this experience, I just wanted to take this moment to celebrate and congratulations that you've been invited to the job interview. The reason why I just wanted to make sure we pause here and then just having a moment of congratulations, because you're going to have this moment eventually in the future. You're going to get a phone call or get invited for the job interview. The fact that actually employer or your prospective employer call you, invite you for the job interview, which means that they like you. I mean, they like you in terms of what you presented on your CV and resume. That's why they decide to pick you and give you the chance to actually get to know you a little bit more so that I can assess whether or not you are the right fit for my organization. So what I want to say here, if you have that experience where you actually got invited for the job interview, whether or not you are the final candidate or not, that's a different story. I just want you to make sure you're proud of yourself. You should be able to be proud of yourself, the fact that you actually got invited throughout the competitive selection process. Then you're one of them the employer really want to know in the interview process. Okay, quick warm-up exercise. I can't actually see whether or not Anyway, let's do this exercise. I want you to close your eyes if you can. I can see Toshi once if you can close your eyes, and I can see that because we are having this camera on with each other. But those of you who have no camera off, I believe that you follow this exercise in my instructions. So what I want you to do, I just want you to close your eyes if you can. Okay, just to focus on my vocal language if that's okay. Okay, you are in the interview room. The interview has started. You have 3 panel members in front of you. My first job interview questions to you. Can you please describe the toughest problem that you have handled in the last year? And how did you go about dealing with that? That's my first interview questions. Now I want you to continue closing your eyes, prepare your answer. And maybe I want you to use your imagination on actually answering to those interview questions. My pause more for 3 seconds. Now I want you to open your eyes. Thank you for those. I hope that for those of you who are not able to turn your camera off, I believe that you've done this exercise with me. So just give me maybe using your emoji or thumbs up button so that I can sort of get some feedback from you. So I want you to type something onto the chat if you can. How did you feel about it? What did you go through in your mind when you do this exercise? How did you feel about it? When you sort of on the spot where you got these questions? Was that come across as a surprise because that wasn't really the question you had prepared? Or do you feel confident you exactly know what you're answering about? You feel nervous? Say yes or no if you actually feel nervous in this exercise when you close your eyes and when you got these interview questions. Anyone feel nervous? Yes or no? Yeah, Tosh, thanks for sharing that. Not too bad. Yeah, but you're more thinking about the time. So when you say time, I assume you're talking about what optimal length it should be answering your interview question. No, Yun, so you're pretty confident, which is great. Yes, yes. Rebecca, I tend to go blank, which is, I just wanted to highlight here very normal things that we will experience, especially when you're nervous and they feel a little bit anxious in terms of we don't know what to expect. So, which is quite normal things, sometimes when you're nervous and then you just mind just get blank and not that I'm saying something is wrong with you, it's very normal things to experience, especially when you are in the formal interview situation, which is one of the most nerve-wracking experiences you're going to have if it's really formal in structure. That's why I'm here, and I'm going to give you some tips and some practical tools and examples on how you can best prepare your interview so that by the time you actually get into the interview, you feel prepared, you feel confident, so you can have more positive experience in your interview performance. Well, I was confused about what to say, which is normal again. Like, you don't know what to say. Like, I have so many problems. Which problem do I have to pick and choose? And then, but that's the answer that I have to present to employers here. The event that happened. Okay, and then I'm just last one here. It was broad question. Yeah, it was broad question. And they usually want to know the situation related to their field and how you overcame the situation. Spot on. And Ferash Tex, I'm so sorry if I mispronounce your first name. Please feel free to unmute yourself and correct me if you can. Absolutely. Sorry?
Fereste.
Fereste.
That's good. Thank you.
Okay, I'll do my best. I'll keep it on. I'll practice more. Thank you. Thanks for correcting me here. Yeah, absolutely. It really comes down to it is broad questions. I'm not going to go too much into detail at this stage because we are going to unpack that a little bit throughout this presentation. But whether or not it's general questions, technical questions, really difficult questions, it really comes down to understanding what employers want to hear from you. It's really understanding about what to expect from employers' point of view and how much your answer is really matched with what they want to hear in terms of the role fit, the job fit, which is what you're applying for. Okay. Some of the common mistakes that I see from job candidates or students who come to see me, but also my personal experience, and I had many failures as well when I gone through many different job interview processes as well. Failure to be prepared. Prepare is so important. If you're not prepared, you know what you are entering to, and then you know what you need to really present to your target job interview panel members. And like about appreciation of the strengths, me as a career counselor, obviously I do see many thousands of different students and helping them throughout a range of different career topics. But one of the common things that I often observe from students, especially for those who have job interview lined up, nervous. I have no idea what to promote because somehow I got lucky to be invited for this job interview, but I don't know about what my selling point might be. And then when I actually had a look at their CV and resume, there's so many great strengths and unique strengths they can actually position themselves. It's just a matter of knowing how to prepare your best storytelling in the job interview setting. Okay? And failure to be positive, confident. Again, it comes down to by the time you walk out of the door, you left the interview room, what kinds of impression you want to leave to the interview panel. So when they do reassessment about, okay, how many people we interviewed today? We had a full interview. What kinds of impression do you really want to leave there, from the job interview panel? Okay, so first here, preparing for an interview. How to create a good impression. That's the first thing that I'm going to cover here. I'm going to ask you questions. Some of you might know the answer here. How long do you think it'll take for you to establish your first impression? By the time you walk in the door, you see the person, how long it's going to take for you to establish your first impression? How long will it take? 1 hour, 2 minutes, 30 seconds, 1 second? I think a little bit longer than. Let me just be more generous. So I guess, but by the time you walk into the door, it'll be more than 1 second, I guess. So yes, pretty quick. Yes, you got my concept here, Rebecca. It's pretty quick, actually. I think at the first glance, yes, you're right. I think people sort of got my point here. Yeah, surprisingly, it's actually even less than 1 minute. It takes really less than 10 seconds. So if I can count the second here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That is quite decent time for one person. Sort of start judging what kinds of characteristics you might have. I might sort of also start judging about what kinds of, positivity you might be able to bring. So I just wanted to, just to let you know that the importance of how can you go about making really good, effective, positive first professional impression when you walk into the interview room. If it's a face-to-face interview, even online situation, the moment that you click the hit button to join the interview room virtually, how can you make sure that you really make the really good first impression to the interview panel? So how can you go about creating really good first impressions here? Your presentations is quite important. Your demeanor, I guess, also if this is face-to-face interview situation, make sure that using some non-verbal language, the power of non-verbal language is quite important things to do. But also you kind of want to make sure you come across as a positive, enthusiastic person, because putting yourself in the shoes of employer, don't you want to hire the best candidate who actually authentically, genuinely passionate about the role of the company, right? So how can you actually make sure you really come across that person, you showing your enthusiasm and passion as well in your first impression? Your body language, your eye contact. Eye contact, I want to mention is quite, again, it comes down to power of non-verbal language. I really want to highlight that here. I eye contact is also a good way to really show that you are ready for this job and you're confident. Not that I'm saying you have to stare at the person without blinking. Make sure you blink a little bit if you can as well. Just to show, it's a sign of showing your confidence as well, that and also willing to sort of build a rapport, and then make sure you are seen as a trustworthy candidate by making that really good eye contact with interview panel member. Is there any other things that you think is quite important in order for you to make great impression? Is there anything that I missed here? I might just give you a few more seconds. Please contribute to the chat or unmute yourself if you can.
This is more than enough.
Sorry, who was it?
Yeah, it's me. Yeah, this is more than enough. This is a good expression to the interviewer.
Thank you. Thanks for the feedback. Okay. So but now you sort of fully understand about how to best go about preparing your creating your good first impression. That's good. Thank you. And before I move on, I just wanted to also acknowledge what Rebecca has shared, her personal experience here. I recently went through screening for the case management role, QCS, Queensland, I assume there is a corrective center services. Fortunately, successful, however, you really enjoy that having the job experience, interview experience, and then you also have non-selection feedback interview. During the interview, they provided 3 questions like this. It was my communication regarding that, was and also there was my intimidation. And thank you so much for sharing that your job interview within that organization, which you all know they're very well-known organization. I assume that you must have gone through a very competitive process to be shortlisted for the job interview. Okay, so one of the very common questions that I also get from students is, Mooney, what to wear? No, it can be quite common sense, but it can be actually important things for you to consider as well, especially in the job interview setting. What to wear, just quick practical tips here. If you absolutely have no idea what to wear here, one simple tips that I can share with you, actually, if you do have your social media, feel free to just to search the organization that you're actually going to interview for, and then just to follow their Facebook if you can, if they're LinkedIn, and then just to see, what sort of people normally wear, that way you just get a sense of what are the normal dress code that actually relates to the industry sector or the occupations or the roles or the culture of the companies. If you are going into, regardless of what jobs, industry sector, roles, occupation you're applying for, the common things is really make sure you don't wear slippers. Obviously, it's just common sense, because you want to make sure you come across as a professional person in this job interview setting. That's one thing I want to highlight here. But also, just to be cautious about not wearing too revealing dress, anything like that, because that can be quite actually distracting, even if your answer was perfect. And I can share based on my personal experience of being sitting in the interview panel. I had one candidate. Presentation was excellent, but it's just the way the person was wearing is quite revealing, which can be quite distracting. Again, comes down to what kinds of impression you want to make in your interview setting. It's about your presentation here. Okay, it's presentation shows. A couple of things that I also want to highlight here. It's really important to know yourself. You got to know yourself, what your selling points are in terms of your unique strengths, skills, attributes based on your university experience, but also your life experience here. And then research. Make sure you actually do research the job in organizations here. So that if you get these interview questions, why did you apply for this role? No, you don't say your research. Yeah, I've done some of my homework. I had a look at your job company's website, and then one thing that I really admire about one of your organizations, environmental sustainability initiative, and I really admire that. And then in my previous project that I've done, blah blah blah. Okay, show that you actually done your basic homework, which is researching the job in the organization. And predicting questions you may be asked, which I'm going to also walk you through. How can you best prepare some questions that you may be asked? Prepare some examples to illustrate strengths and prepare questions to ask as well, especially that can happen normally at the end of the interview setting. I'm going to unpack that a little bit more throughout my presentation. And also, if you do have your referees, referees, for those of you who agreed to become your referees for your job application, when you get invited for the job interview, that might be really good timing for you to give them heads up. Your referees, hey, thank you for again agreeing to be my referee. As you know, and I'll put your name down as a referee for this job. Very fortunate that I got invited for the job interview. I might not get the job, I might get the job, but I just wanted to give you a heads up so that the person who agreed to become your referee to be prepared to actually get a phone call if you are the final shortlist candidate. It's just a little courtesy. And check some practical arrangement, which is quite real tips that I want to share. If you have to actually physically be there for job interview, make sure you plan it, just to make sure you just search on the map, just to predicting how long it's gonna take to get there. If you have to find a car park. Long story short, 10 years ago when I had my first university job interview at Griffith University, it wasn't this role, different role. I actually didn't know that Nathan campus, Mount Gravatt campus, how big the campus was, and I had struggled to actually find the car park. So you really have to predict actually some practical arrangement, how long it's going to take to get there, where the car park might be, things like that, some logistical planning here. Prepare a folio to take with you and present, as part of your preparation process, make sure you pair up with your buddy, your classmates, and then just practice and ask for feedback. I'm just going to a little bit mention about role research here. So one of the typical interview questions you'll get, can you provide a specific examples of the time when you do this, which is called behavior question you get. Can you provide a specific example when you have to work on, coding? No, I do have so many IT students here. So how can you make sure you prepare presenting your example that really relates to the types of role in which we are applying for? Okay. So again, first, you have to review the job advertisement. If there was an advertised job, I'm sure they do have some sort of position description, selection criteria, and then you will be responsible for this. You will see that some decent information about what types of tasks, activities, your key area of responsibility. So make sure you print out and highlight just to read it to understand what this role is about. How many of you, before you even put your application, resume, cover letter, how many of you actually go beyond and actually call the employer to find a little bit more about the role? Can anyone just put your thumbs up or hands up, or just to type it into chat if you have done that before? How many of you actually rang or emailed the employer before you even put together your application to find a little bit more about the role? Okay, I really encourage you to give it a try. I know it sounds daunting. You have to get out of your comfort zone a little bit, but the best way to actually learn, understand what this role is about, to actually be able to call the person and ask some good questions. Some student might say, Moni, I don't want to just to come across as and making wrong impression by calling them, that I don't want to sound like I'm bragging about this job. That's not what I'm talking about. Before you even put together your job application, don't you want to just actually genuinely know a little bit more about this role? No? Simple as like, okay, I saw this job. Can you just tell me if it is a newly created role or has somebody been in this role before? No, don't you want to know a little bit more about background story, why this role was advertised? And I also read the job description as well. So I do have a good understanding about what this job about. But can you just give me a quick rundown? What would be the key top priorities of this role? Okay. What is the short-term sort of objective you really want to achieve from this position? You can ask this kind of question. Okay, I understand the selection criteria. I read that what sort of skills attribute you're looking for. So if you could pick and hire one best person, what kinds of qualities attribute would you like to see? No, you can ask those questions. I know it's only the job description, but that's a really good way for you to also stand out, from the competitive process. Organization research. What do you know about our organization? What do you want to work for us? Just to get a sense of who I got here, I might just pause for a second. Can you just type your answer to the chat, please, for me, and tell me whether or not you actually had a job interview in the past? Yes or no? If you do have job interview experience in the past, can you tell me a little bit more about what sort of types of job opportunity was it about? Was it a part-time job, casual job? Was your previous part-time professional job? Similar to what Rebecca has shared here, Rebecca had a job interview experience already for the position that she applied for at the QCS. Yes, Toshi, part-time, full-time job? Yeah. Yes, Mohan. Yes, I had an accounting company part-time job. Yeah. So I assume that the group we have here had a sort of an experience of having some sort of interview, yeah? Whether or not it's a part-time job or professional jobs. Good to know. Okay, thank you. Okay, so the other one that you really want to do some basic homework is really to understand the industry, the professions here. Okay, because you kind of want to be able to make sure that you show your ambitions in your chosen sector. If you're really ambitious about working in the cybersecurity industry, what are the key emerging issues over there that industry people talking about in cybersecurity sector? What are the hot topics? Okay, what are the future of the cybersecurity industry moving forward? Over the next 10 years, 5 years, things like that. Okay, so next step that I want to share here with you. What types of interview format you are expect to see in your future career moving forward? Different types of interviews here. So one-to-one interview, raise your hand using your emoji or throw it into the chat if you actually had the one-to-one interview in your life. Some school application interview counts as well. High school. Okay, yes. Okay, what about different types of interview? Second types of interview I want to mention here, panel interview, which is very common. You typically will see 2 or 3 panel members for you. It might be one person might be from HR, one other person might be the person you have to report to, your line manager, things like that. Group interviews is also very common, especially if you're applying for graduate program in the company where they do the bulk recruitment. Lots of graduate students here, candidates here. Group interviews, there are many different types of qualities they want to see in this group interview. They want to observe how you're interacting with the other person sitting next to you. They want to see about your communication skills, your leadership skills, your listening skills, your interpersonal skills. So very common things to expect, especially if you're preparing your graduate program applications here. And video interview is so common nowadays. The fact that now we are meeting here for even this presentation workshops online as well. So video interviews is very common. I got this job sort of after COVID as well, and it was a virtual interview because Brisbane had a massive flooding, so all the electronics was shut down. The massive problem here in this suburb. So my interview was also held as a virtual interview where I had 3 panel members as here. So these are the very typical, very common different types of interview format that you will expect. Okay, so I'm just gonna give you guys a rundown on different types of even video interview. Does anyone know the difference between synchronous and asynchronous? Can anyone give me your understanding of this? You can unmute if you can. Okay, so basically, synchronous interview is a live interview. The interview is happening. It's live. So the fact that now we are talking in live time, right? It's not recorded. It's even happening in the current time. So that is called synchronous interview. Asynchronous interviews is that that means that your interview should be recorded and you have to submit your recording as part of your application process. Very common nowadays, especially if you're applying for some massive recruitment, like graduate program. I've seen some nursing graduate programs as well, that you have to record your interview and then submitting that as well. And some sort of extracurricular, like a leadership program as well, like ambassador programs are happening as well. The city of Gold Coast, they do have very well-known student ambassador programs. Is available for all Queensland-based universities. So their first interview question actually asynchronous, that where you have to actually recording yourself and then telling them why you should be selected for this ambassador program. So it's very common things to do nowadays. Okay, so how can you excel in your virtual online video interview? Very simple things. Make sure you actually revisit the basic instruction that you initially received from the organization. Not simple as, okay, are they going to use a Zoom or Teams? What platform do you have to download the platform even prior to that? But also like who are the interview panel members? They are very likely to provide you their names and their positions as well. So do your basic homework and then prepare, because you don't want to get distracted on the actual date of interview with some technological issues as well. When I did my virtual interview, online interview 2-3 times, I even prepared 2 different headsets just in case my first headset might not work. So I prepared some second backup as well, just in case. Prepare. Ensure your internet connection is also stable as well. It's basic things, but you don't want to just do having some disappointment simply due to some internet issues and technological problems here. And become familiar with some process and time limitations. And frame your face-to-face camera not too close, not too far. Again, it really comes down to building relationship engagement and impression. Some people ask me, Mooney, do I have to look at myself? Or do I have to look at the camera lens? Do I have to look at the people? Many different answers you're going to get depending who you're asking. But my personal advice to you, if you try to look at yourself, you're going to be too self-conscious about yourself, right? You're going to worry about yourself. So what I want you to do is that focus on looking at the actual interview panel, because that's what you need to do when you are in the face-to-face interview situation, right? To build that really relationship. So people will know that if you're actually looking at them, even if it's in virtual situation, people actually know that whether or not you're focusing on me. Yeah, so that's my advice here to you. Dress as if a face-to-face interview. So again, make sure you really look after your grooming. In terms of background, as you can see, I'm having a white background here because I just want to make sure that I have tidy and neat background here when I'm presenting here, and then Griffith's logo this side. So that you don't see my messy furniture and stuff behind me here. The other thing that I want to mention, again, remember about your personality. You want to make sure that what kinds of sort of, I guess, how you want to be seen in your interview situation. So it's really make sure that it has to be authentic who you are. It's really genuine of who you are and who you really are. So it's important that also you come across and showing your personality during your job interview as well. Okay, how many of you have done some mobile phone interview? I'm just curious. Anyone? This can happen, I guess, depending on the situation. If I've seen that, yes, Toshi did that once. Yeah, Rebecca. Yeah, good. Depending on, I guess, what situation might be, what the reason might be. If you sometimes company might just want to do the telephone interview first before they even decide to invite them face-to-face interview. I had the experience as well when I was a graduate applying for a few jobs, and they actually did a phone interview first. Or if you can't actually make it physically, then this might be the alternative option they could offer for you. So depending on like a situation scenario as well. But what one of the key barriers, like challenges when you do the telephone interview, is how for you to actually get your personality across, because you're not going to see your verbal language. They're not going to see your face. So how can you go by actually building really good engagement, right? And then rapport, and then really do well, perform in this telephone interview. Again, obviously, you want to make sure you just done some homework, but again, it comes down to understanding the role and understanding the company, or just understanding the organization. But also, when you do the telephone interview, I really encourage you to use the power of pause. You know, sometimes when you get nervous, if you try to jump into and then providing your answer straight away, you know, so especially if it's on the phone, then, you know, you can just use the pause strategy. Thanks for your questions. Can I just clarify the question? Do you mean this? So it's not so much about one person giving you a question, you have to answer, moving on to the next question, and you're moving on to answer. It's really, you know, one-to-one interaction, which you can definitely facilitate that even if it's telephone interview environment. Questions from Yun. Do they inform you they gonna call? I don't pick up strange phone number personally. That's actually a good question to ask. Sometimes I do get some phone call from random number, or sometimes you get a phone call, it's a private number, which is quite typically normal if that phone call was from government sector, from whatever private reason. Normally, they should be able to give a heads up by email and then arranging some mutually beneficial time, convenient time with you. So they said, hi, would you be free for 10 p.m., 10 a.m. on this day? And then that's the day you agree. Then you just want to make sure that's the time, around the time that you expect to have the phone call from the employer. Good question. No worry, Rebecca, thanks for letting us know. Again, we will be able to share the recording with you too. Bye. Good. Okay, so another typical types of interview here, group interview. Again, I had a really good pleasure to actually work with one of our IT students who a couple of weeks ago, who actually had a job interview in his first graduate program application. So he went through a very competitive process, a pretty well-known company, and then he got invited for the graduate program interview. And the first round of interview wasn't even panel interview; it was actually group interview. So that they grouped 5-6 candidates. Okay. Let's say they have 50 candidates, and then they just actually group them into 6 people in one group. And then they threw one scenario-based questions. Okay, now we have this funding, $10,000. I want you to discuss how you're going to utilize this funding for this project. And then just panel member, they're walking around and they're observing how you guys interacting. Okay, so I guess the point that I'm trying to make here, if you are having group interview lined up, first of all, come to see us so we can actually help you out. But also we do have some different online resources that I can share at the end of this presentation slide. But it really comes down to what types of skills attribute the employers actually want to see. Again, really understanding the underlying, the reason why they're asking, why they're facilitating these kinds of questions. They all know that you are expert in your chosen discipline, right? IT, accounting, criminology, because they know that you spend 4 hours, 2 years, dedicate your time to study your chosen major. They actually want to know what are the professional skills that you can actually demonstrate in order for you to actually successful in this role. Project management, teamwork, communication. If you do have really good software program that you really want to launch, how can you convince your stakeholder using your presentation skills, your communication skills, right? Right. So that's the purpose behind it. Okay, so top tips: group interview, stand up, confidence, smile. Again, I mentioned about the non-verbal language, the power, why it's important. Eye contact, calmness, clear voice. Stand out. That doesn't mean that, okay, I'm gonna be the only one who talk everything about all my ideas. That's not what I'm talking about. You can still stand out by showing your non-verbal language as well in the group interview situation. Get involved, be genuine, say what you think, but also listen using your deep listening power. That is also one of the really important communication skills the employer want to see. Balancing steering the ideas with cooperation listening and discussing your experience, education whenever possible. Absolutely. So yes, so far, so what are the common themes that we discuss here? This is this. I'd love to actually share one idea if there's okay, based on my just recent university project experience. No, don't be afraid of actually selling and then promoting your recent university accomplishment if you can. Okay, different types of interview questions here. Okay, different types of interview questions. I'm going to highlight 4 main different types of interview questions that are very common in your job interview. First one is underlying, open-ended, behavioral, and the last one is hypothetical questions. The first underlying questions is simply underlying question. Why are you here? What can you do for us? What kinds of person are you? What actually makes you stand out from the other? Because they simply get to know who you are. They really want to know interesting aspects of who you are. They already done some basic check by looking at your resume and cover letter, right? So they want to know further about you, in this interview situation. The other one, very common question, open-ended question. Basically, the question you can't actually answer as a yes or no. Yes or no. It's open-ended questions. Your answer has to be open-ended, right? So, which is typically. So, thank you so much for joining us today. So, can you tell me about yourself? Very common interview question. And what motivated you to apply for this role? What attracts you to this role? What are your strengths and weaknesses? Like that. So, if you have this open-ended question in your job interview, how can you go about best to prepare your answer? I'm going to mention about some of the common mistakes that I see first, and then I'm going to introduce you some formula that you might want to utilize to best structure your answer if you get these interview questions. Tell me about yourself. What you shouldn't do. Very common mistakes. Tell me about yourself. It's not actually people asking about, tell me about all your personal history, about how many siblings you have and how many relatives you have. And then I always tend to go to a party every weekend. You got to make a balance between talking about your personal things and also really talking about your professional experience, but also your recent achievements and then the skills, the things that you want to highlight here. Yeah, I hope that resonates with you and makes sense to you. But also, really, what I really want you to start thinking about here is also, tell me about yourself. It really comes down to promoting all your past accomplishments, your unique strengths based on the experience you have. It's really your chance to actually set the tones of the interview when the interview has started. Because tell me about yourself is normally a very typical question you're going to get in the sort of at the start of the interview as well. So without further ado, I'm just going to quickly introduce this formula here. One of the many techniques that really we found very effective for many candidates to use, especially when your mind gets blank and you have no idea what to answer. So tell me about yourself. Start with the present situation, your current status. You can talk a little bit more about your current role if you are having professional job, or if you are a university student, which is the case here, then you can talk about what your current degree you are doing, because you want to be able to showcase your academic ambitions, right? You had a reason why you choose your degree. And then also, don't be afraid to talk about your recent accomplishments. It doesn't have to be a recent accomplishment. It doesn't have to be big things where you get an award. It can be simple as, this year I was juggling my part-time job with a full-time study. One of my recent accomplishments was that I really was able to achieve really good project outcome from this subject. It can be as simple as that, like that. And you shouldn't undersell yourself, right? And then segue into talking about your past. Tell the interviewer how you got there. Or you can also mention about your previous experience that is relevant to the job and the company you're applying for. Okay. And then moving forward, what you're actually looking forward to do and why you are interested in this opportunity. Okay. So let me just give you some example. Tell me about yourself. I'm just going to improvise and then prepare this answer. Just of things that I could think of off the top of my head. Thank you. Yes, I'm in my final year of accounting here at Griffith University. And one of my recent accomplishments in my final year is to be able to actually having practical industry experience, really learning about how the taxation program process works. Okay. In the past, I also was able to do my internship working in this XYZ company. And then in this internship experience, one of the projects that I was able to undertake was this. And then which was fantastic because I was able to really learn how to communicate with different clients and then learning about some practical taxation industry sector. Moving forward, the reason why I really wanted to apply for your company, I had a really good feedback from all the people that I network with. They're really talking about one of the really advanced programming system that your company is using. I really want to be part of it and then really be part of a contribution to really further enhance your software system, whatever the accounting taxation system, and then improving the efficiency of that. Okay, I just give you a little bit example here. Hopefully, they get some idea for you guys soon. Okay, the other one, behavior questions. Tell me about time when you did this. Can you describe a time when you did this? So behavior question is very common because interviewer sort of liked you based on what you presented in your resume. But unfortunately, they haven't had experience yet working with you, right? So they want to be able to ask these questions so that they can predict what sort of future behavior that I'm likely to see from you in this situation. Yeah, does that make sense? Yes. So when you have to prepare some of the very common behavior questions, tell me about time when you have to work team. Tell me about time when you have to solve the problem. Tell me about time when you have to compete priorities and work under pressure. You know, how can you go about best to present your answer in very compelling storytelling, format here? How many of you heard about STAR? I can see we have some 3 students here with me, and we got still 6 minutes left here. I'll aim to finish on time. How many of you have heard about the STAR technique? No? Okay, I'm just going to quickly read through what STAR means. So it's one of the most powerful, very effective structure that you can follow when you respond to interview questions, behavior questions. Because sometimes when you get nervous, we very tend to ramble, and then sometimes, okay, I feel like I'm on side topic right now. How can I actually go back to the main point like that in your interview answer? So I really encourage you to use this STAR formula as you set the situation. You sort of give them a story in concise manner, describing what the situation you are in. Okay, and then you moving on to task. You also describe what specific task that you did. Okay, what was the key challenge that you actually faced when you got this task assigned to you? Okay, was it deadline issue? Was that what was the issue? Was there some sort of, I guess, some budget issue? What was the issue when you do the task? When people talk about this task, some of the common mistake that I see, they focus on talking about their boss, their team members, their colleagues. The interview is about you. No, I'm not interested in knowing about your boss and your team colleagues. It's more about what you did. So make sure you use the I language here. One of my tasks was, in this team project, one of the things that I had to contribute was this. Okay? And the most important part is actually action part. I really want you to focus on 60% of your answer should be focused around the action part. You set a really good picture, theme, what the situation was, what the task was. In order for you to best perform in the task, what was the approach? What was the key action you actually undertook? From that situation, from that action, what are the key attributes, the value that you actually demonstrated? Okay? Did you take your initiative? Did you showcase your leadership? Did you showcase your good communication skills? Did you use your problem solving skills? No. What was the key approach to actually tackle the challenge and then perform the task really well? And the wrap up out of that action you did, what was the outcome? The outcome doesn't need to be necessarily like big, amazing things. It can be simple as, did you contribute to making some positive change, small change? Did you improve to enhancing some efficiency? Did you get some really good feedback from your team member or your manager? Or you can even share some lesson that you have learned from the situation you got involved in here. Again, if you really want to unpack a little bit more and becoming a master of this STAR technique for your future job interview, we do have some online resources that I'm going to mention here. Some STAR example: describe a time when you made a mistake, how you handle it. Oh yes, thanks for the question. Last year, I made a mistake when I was adding this information to this company system. But it really led to shortfall in available resources to this at this such a critical time. And I was actually the one who discovered my error first. So it doesn't have to be long. You just set the picture so that even if I wasn't there, I can sort of imagine what the situation was like. It has to be simple, short to the point. Okay. And in this challenging situation, what I had to do is actually I was able to figure out what actually happened, investigate it, and what needs to be done about it. That was your task, your responsibility, because you actually found the error, right? And how did you tackle it? Action. With that plan in mind, first thing that I did, I actually spoke to my manager just to report the situation and asked that I'll be responsible for fixing it. So you're showing your ownership, responsibility. You're taking your initiative, okay? And then you're calling all affected parties required to remedy it, including your clients as well. You're really showing your initiative, And then fortunately, it was quite soon enough that very limited impact occurred, and I was able to prove, and I was very capable of fixing the problem. You're showing your problem-solving skills here too. So wrap up. So as a result, the result was actually really good because I actually developed now the method to be able to quickly the final review and the verification. Okay. An example of how you can actually develop your effective storytelling using the STAR formula. Okay, so apologies, guys, if you can bear with me for 2-3 more minutes. I'm just going to quickly read through this important slide, the rest of the slides, and I'm going to also share some online resources on where to refer to as well. Hypothetical situation is very common if they want to really understand, testing out your technical knowledge and skills as well. So what would you do in this situation? Okay, we do have this complex IT technology issue. In this situation, how would you do about it? They want to actually test out your technical knowledge and experience in this specific field. Predicting likely questions, concluding well. So when that was the end of the interview. Do you have any questions? That's really good. You really want to make sure you leverage that time for you for many different reasons. Why? Now they spend time to interview you. It's now the time for you to interview them, because you want to make sure you are also applying for the job that align with your value. They want to make sure they are hiring the right candidate. You also make sure that you're working in the company that align with your value, right? So how can you go about it? Yes, so just an example here. Yes, I do actually have 2 questions indeed. So just to checking out, okay, if the time allows to do so, I do actually have 2 questions. Do you think we still have time? Just checking out. And they might say, we're a little bit running out of time. I just have it on next to candidate. We have the interview. Maybe we can just do one question. Well, yes, feel free to ask any question. Go for it. And they might just ask you, give you time to do that. Ask whatever questions. You might want to also ask about, okay, when am I expected to hear the outcome? You don't want to just wait forever, right? You just want to make sure that you sort of get an idea. But I just wanted to get an idea of a time frame. When am I expected to hear it? I think this question is especially very important if you have to do some interstate travel to actually get the job. If you have to move from Perth to Brisbane, I know you also need to prepare some logistical things as well. So quite an important question for you to ask that as well. But also ask these questions. Yeah, so what I want to ask, what motivates you to come to your work? What's the best thing about working in your department? And then that's a really good question for you to know what motivates that person to come to that job. Is that because the client they care about? Is it because of salary they like? Is it because of the colleagues they're working with together? Is it because they like the coffee machine they really have there in the company? So it's your chance to actually assessing the types of people that you have to work with together if you get the job. Okay, hope that sort of help you with that. Okay, so last few slides here. Did you know we'd actually have this online interview preparation resources? You're gonna be surprised if you use that. This is exclusive for Griffith University students, available up to 4 months after you graduate, as far as you still have your S number and your authentication at Griffith University. Make sure that you actually use this free big interview online resources. You're going to be able to access a range of different interview questions and recommendation. Depending on what you're choosing industry you want to go, also some sort of preferred occupations. But also the AI, you can actually record your answer. And the AI can actually pick and choose how many times you blink, how many times you say, So it's a very good way for you to also, practice your interview. Last thing that I want to mention, okay, before you even get invited to interview, you have to submit your resume first, right? Your cover letter, and then make sure you actually accessing our online application resources here. We do provide a bunch of different guide on how you can actually stand out from your job application process. And thank you, my colleague, actually shared the link to the big interview resource here as well. Okay, career recruitment consultant. Do you know in our team, we do have dedicated student employment consultants. Their job is to actually bring paid job opportunity for Griffith University students, whether or not it's casual job, part-time job, or graduate positions, or paid internship. So make sure that you actually register to become a part of our Griffith University student talent pool. So you never know if you do have an industry partner come to see us, and that we really want some dedicated software developer student candidate. You have any good candidate, then we do actually go visit our talent pool and they're based on your resume. So if you want to register here, make sure you actually have some decent resume ready as well. But you can also go to our career hub, as you can see here, and click the job. And you will be able to see a range of different job vacancies that we are promoting here on behalf of our employers and companies, organizations. And one of the best things for you to know how to best to set up your career plannings and career direction is to actually speak to somebody who actually gone through the same journey. We do have over 100 or 200 really great industry mentors who are simply willing to help students from a diverse industry background. So some of them are also Griffith University alumni as well. So this program is available for all Griffith University students. If you're an undergraduate student, you have to finish your first trimester and then you become eligible. If you're a master student, you are eligible from your first trimester too. So make sure you actually take advantage of this great programs available for you to expand your industry connections as well while you're studying at Griffith University. I'm not sure how many of you actually register for career fair. We are having one of the biggest career event that we are organizing here at Griffith University. The first one is in March, which is already done in Nathan campus. The second one is the 1st of August on the Gold Coast. We do have over 80 employers locked in. Simply, they want to come to campus, really identify good talent. And this is a really good chance for you to practice your informal interview. No? They're going to ask you, okay, why? Yeah, yes, what do you study? And yeah, I'm actually an IT student. I'm looking for this opportunity. And can you tell me a little bit more about what graduate opportunity your company is offering? So make sure you register yourself and then you actually speak to our employers' career fairs. I understand you joined this session as part of our Launch Your Career Series program. So we do also have a range of different other exciting topics ready as well. Make sure you secure spots for other topics that we still have over the next 2-3 weeks as well. If you are international students, I really want to highlight here, we do have a range of exclusive career workshop event ready for international students. The first one is actually next Tuesday. Next Wednesday, actually, we have really fabulous lineup of the speaker who are former Griffith University international students as well, now working in industry in their chosen field. They're going to share some really good insight tips on how they become really successful in their chosen career as well. Okay, and make sure you also join our SharePoint site. Anything you really learn about how to prepare job interview, how to really understand all the skills you have gained from your university experience, how to set up a LinkedIn profile, range of different career topics that's going to benefit you to really land in your dream job. Make sure you use this online SharePoint site. It's sort of self-paced learning you can do for university students. That's it. And then make sure you follow us if you're using your social media. Sometimes we do often promote different career events through social media. So you might just not want to miss out that opportunity. And then social media is a good way for you for you to keep yourself up to speed in what's been happening with these different career opportunities and events that we are promoting here. That's it for me. Now, I know I have gone over time, but thank you for those of you who stick around here with me. And off you go. I guess that's all for me from today's presentation. So I just want to say that I really hope you do well and wish you all the best for your study, of course, but also your future endeavor in preparing your career journey as well. I might just stay here for another 1 or 2 minutes if you do have any questions. Otherwise, I'll let you guys go and enjoy your afternoon.